in charge. Okay? I know that, Van's going to walk in and go, I'm in charge. Okay, Jim's going to walk in and go, no, you're not. I'm in charge. Justin's going to go, I got a better idea than you got. I'm in charge. Okay? I mean, you're going to get this. These things happen.
Serious?
Yes, they do. They happen
More
all the
volunteer
time.
groups.
They even happen with the professionals. I have been on incidents where you walk in and you got the local PD for the little podunk town, and that police chief says, I'm in charge. Sheriff walks up and says, oh, hell no. I'm in charge. Okay? And then you got the highway patrolman walks and says, I'm in charge. The fire chief says, no, actually, the building's on fire. I'm in charge. Okay? He says, once the building's out, then you can be in charge all day long. Okay? But they even have those events that occur. Incident command system has helped with that. But with volunteers, it's a little more challenging. Because they come in, everybody wants to be in charge. So it's always good to have something ahead of time. When I went through the Advanced IMT Academy back in February, there was 20 of us in the room. 20-person team. They had 3 or 4 teams. And there were 20 of us in the room. While I knew several of the people, I knew probably 6 of the folks in the room, we had never worked together before as a team. And 45 minutes is all it took. We knew who was in what positions. Those were already pre-assigned. But it took us 45 minutes to become a cohesive working team. And we rocked. We managed to suppress the wildfire more rapidly than any of the other teams. We made proper decisions. We came nowhere close to the maximum budget we were given, where 2 of the teams not only busted the budget, they tripled. Trying to fight fire. One team requested 747 from Evergreen, the 747 fighting aircraft to come from California all the way over here to fight this fire. That airplane's $25,000 an hour. Okay, it takes 4.5 hours to get here from LA. Okay, so think of that cost just to ferry the damn airplane here empty. Okay,
They don't have
anyway,
anything on the East Coast?
nothing like that. There are smaller ones, but there's no assets that size. But anyway, we put it together, and part of the things that we have to do, and this is part of where you'll learn this in the next course when you take the EOC Net Controller course, is we actually have a part in developing what's called the Incident Action Plan. Well, as an IMT, we're up here, we're developing that plan. We have to write that thing for every shift, every duty period. Yeah. And it's something we have to redo. We were able to do it. Got them all done. Ours became the model. Actually, it's being used in the next class as the model of this is what it should look like. All right. We provide training to you. This is part of it, what we're doing. We're giving you all the training that you need. But we're giving you the classroom training. What's the other part of the training that you've got to do? Practice, get on the air. Okay, I keep telling our net folks, run a net. You've been through the net control course, run a net. I don't need to be running 3 nets a month. Run a net. If everybody takes one a quarter, that's a net controller. That covers the quarter. All right. Anyway, Aries came up in 1935. It's composed of sections. The section coordinator is the SEC, and that's pretty much the state of North Carolina is your section. There are districts within the state, and then the counties have an EOC, or have an EC. And there is only one EC per county, although we can assign more assistants, and the county is the lowest level. They don't go down to city or town or village, or I just want to be the EC. They don't go that level. So what that means is whoever's the EC for Forsyth County, when it comes to areas operations, they're the tallest hog in the trough. Okay. Who's the EC for Forsyth County? I just call myself the tallest hog in the trough. Okay. We have memorandums of understanding with FEMA, American Red Cross, Salvation Army, National Weather Service. Forsyth County EMCom does have an MOU with Forsyth County, Forsyth County Emergency Management. Right now, they are in the process of rewriting their entire county emergency operations plan from scratch. They're basically taking the old book and going, gone. Clean sheet of paper that's starting to. We're part of that. I'm part of that team that's doing that. EMCom is a very integral part of that plan. All right. Races we've already pretty much talked about, so we're not going to go back to that. We can switch hats if we vote. We can go back and forth as needed, but you got to remember which one you are. EMCom is the DHS designation for everything that is not public safety radio. CB, GMRS, MERS, FRS, whatever comes up next, okay, that somebody designates. You know, we are the primary EMCom provider. We manage all of this. There are CB groups in the area. Several CERT teams use FRS, a couple use GMRS, one uses MERS. There is a oversized vehicle emergency response team. This is a group of people, there's about 8 of them, that have large vehicles, large capacity, all 4-wheel drive. They jack them up with big tires on all that. They operate primarily with CBs, but they're now getting towards the MERS. And so that's the communications methodology we may have to employ because we're responsible for coordinating all that. We're responsible for being able to bring that information from them into the EOC. How do we do that? Because I can tell you, the EOC is not going to have us, and somebody with GMRS, and somebody with MERS, and somebody with FRS, and somebody with CB all sitting there. It's just not going to happen. No EOC is going to do that. One group, most responsible group, the one that they know is licensed, the one that they know can do the job, is amateur radio. So we're in. The Salvation Army has a response team. They primarily use HF networks, pass health and welfare messages, as well as the American Red Cross. At their local levels, working interfacing with Siren teams, are Aries, Reactant, CB in some areas. We will support the Salvation Army as they need. All right, rapid response team, we already talked a little bit about it. Primarily your level 1 team, your level 2 team, I should say, responds very rapidly. 2 to 3 people, we try to get them on site and up and running within an hour. 2 hours is the outside. Your level 1 teams, those are the ones that have pre-assigned jobs. They're the ones that will do short-term jump kits, 12 to 24 hours. You know, and then level 2 teams would come back afterwards, ready for longer deployments. The example being, these 3 outstanding gentlemen are my level to the team. Okay? I call up, they deploy to the EOC rapid. They get there. Their job is to get it up, get it operational, get things going. That's what their job is. Behind them, I'm going to send the 3 gentlemen behind them. They're my type 1 team. They're going to roll in, they're ready for 12-hour shift. They're ready to rock. They're going to roll in and relieve these guys. And they're going to start their 12-hour shift. These guys are going to go back, they're going to get all their gear together, and they're going to come back ready for the longer deployment. You see how that works?
I do.
It rolls through. It allows us to get on the air, get things organized rapidly, and then come back for continuing operations. Mutual assistance team. Everybody in here is part of the Aries map. Mutual assistance team. Why? Because we're going to deploy where? Forsyth County primary. But through mutual assistance agreements, we're going to go to Davie, Davidson, Yankton, Stokes, because they don't really have teams. They don't have any formal established. But if it's needed, we're going to go there. Could we go elsewhere? Could we go over to Guilford County? Yeah. Could we go to Surrey County? Yeah. If Roy or Tim yell, help, we're going to go. We had an event back in April. We had MS call us. They wanted us to do a couple of events. One of them happened to be in Greensboro. Happened to be northwest Guilford County. And so I just called Tim and said, hey, Tim, why don't you guys handle that for me? It's in your county anyway. And he goes, yeah, we'll do that. So they did that operation, we did ours. All right. Mars, we've already talked a little bit about it. So we use it, the Mars people do not use the amateur call signs. They have their own special call signs. That's why I have a flip thing. I've got about 8 different call signs. And I have this little tag I put up on each radio. It tells me what my call sign is for that particular radio at that time. You know, because I could be working on Mars, which is one call sign, on HF, and I could be working Air, which is a different call sign. I could be working us on VHF, which of course is my amateur call sign. And I could be doing something different on UHF or the 800, which are all different call signs. And I could have GRS on. So I can be sitting there going, okay, which mic, which radio, which call sign. Gets confusing when you're trying to operate. Anyway, that's what happens and with Mars. A little bit about them. You get a whole lot of training in Mars. Isn't that right, Mark? Mike?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty intense. And we only give you 6 months. We used to give you a year to become certified. We only give you 6 months. We kind of nailed that down a little bit.
The biggest problem I'm having is with the everything.
That's the biggest challenge for those folks. But once you learn it, you get it, you'll rock on it. National Traffic System. Anybody heard of that before? The NTS?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want to listen to a National Traffic System, there is one every evening at 9 o'clock. You will hear it on the 146.820 repeater. It's the Central Carolina Traffic Net. Real quick in a nutshell, because I'm not going to go through all of the stuff for that.
What was the frequency again?
146.820.
You can also listen to it at 6:30 on ATF at 3.923.
Yeah.
Guilford County runs one too on the 250 at 7:30 every evening.
Traffic on NTS now?
NTS, yeah.
That must be their own local.
It is.
Because the one on 820 at 9 o'clock is the Central Carolina, so that covers the region.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's normally the way they're set up. You got the national, and then you got it down state and the region. You know, and then there are some counties that run a local. We don't run a local here. We interface with the Central Carolina Traffic Net. If there is traffic for us, it gets passed to us. But they use the ARRL message form. If you're familiar with that, we'll actually show you a picture later of what that looks like. And you'll actually learn a little bit about that because that is a secondary form we use for passing traffic. We already talked about not every club has an areas program, or not every area has a club, and that's why we fill the voids. Shares. Okay? Certain Mars operators and federal agencies. Okay? It's a backbone for normal communications failures. And trust me, they practice. If I make every net, if I was to make every net with Mars and every shares net every day, I would be sitting at my radio desk for about 6 hours listening to static. Okay, so we practice. We're sending messages. I shouldn't say listening to static. We're listening to all the data alerts. Because once everybody's checked in, then everybody's playing, and we're passing traffic. And Shares actually has every week a meeting. We have a video conference meeting that we get on. It's a working group, and that's to build this thing and make it even better. FEMA has a national radio system. Believe it or not, when necessary, under what's getting ready to come out, under the new system, they can even walk up and say, I need you to manage that for me. Here's the radios, manage it. They'll walk in, they'll drive in with a trailer of 50 radios. Then a repeater. Here it is, set it up, manage it. Pretty challenging. But can we do it?
Yes.
Sure. We know how to set up a repeater, right? No. There's a pretty simple, trust me. There's a real simple to set up. You know, there's is put the antenna up, plug the coax in, hook it to power, flip the switch. Okay, it's pretty simple for theirs. Okay, because you got to remember, most of the times they're dealing with government employees. Okay, yeah, they're not the sharpest tacks with the box.
So that's only Raleigh?
That's only Raleigh.
No, I mean like this, that system really doesn't have rating.
You know, they have the networks throughout the United States, and they have six tractor trailers that have all that equipment in it that can be deployed. One of them is based in Raleigh.
Based where?
In Raleigh. So it is easy to get if we need it. But it's pretty neat. It's just chock full of comic equipment. Everybody familiar with React? If you had CB years ago, you know what React is. Believe it or not, they're still active. Not as active in this area, when you've got a lot of good cell phone usage that kind of dropped down to nothing. But you get out in the Midwest and areas where they don't have good cell coverage, React's still there. And believe it or not, they have an MOU with the ARRL. Okay. And basically that MOU says that we will assist in relaying their messages. Meaning we accept them, and then we get them through our system, which can go farther and better than theirs. That MOU's there. Okay. Emergency warning system, the emergency alert system. Everybody been watching your favorite movie. You're right in the middle of a good scene. All of a sudden, right? You go. because it blocks out everything, and you have to listen to the 30 seconds or whatever it is. Who has same weather radios in their house? If you do not have one, buy one. They are inexpensive, they're about $40. You can put your county and surrounding counties in there. What it does is when the National Weather Service issues a warning or a watch for your area, for your county, it affects you, that radio sets off a tone. Automatically opens up and you can hear the broadcast. And all you gotta do is tap it, tap whatever button on it is required, and it silences it. It still shows that you're under that watch or warning.
You can do that on your phone automatically too.
I have it on my phone, but I have one in the radio room. Because in the middle of the night, that'll wake me up quicker than the phone will.
On my scanners, if you turn the volume all the way off, it don't matter. When that thing goes off, it'll wake me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first time
Trust
it
me.
went off, I scared it.
The first time that same radio went off, I just bought a new one. They put it up because the old one was getting old. It was getting flaky. First time that new one went off, Brindley, the dog, jumped up. She's looking around like, what the hell? She had no clue what it was. Now she ignores it.
According to Jeff Orick, North Carolina leads the nation in the number of tornado deaths after midnight.
Yes,
After
we do.
midnight.
We do. Which is not cool. It's not cool.
There's a app for your cell phone called Radar Now.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit there and see what's around you. But the nice thing is it also gives you the alerts. So if you're traveling,
Right.
it gives you the alerts for there,
Right.
wherever you are.
There are several. I've got WeatherBug does the same thing. Whatever I happen to do.
You mean a tornado that hits North Carolina is usually at night? Yep.
Most of our tornadoes occur in the late hours of the evening. And most of our deaths occur at that point.
Wow.
That's why these same radios work. They save lives. Specific area message encoding. Okay?
This is a good thing as long as it works. Then we Francis all the computers were out in the area around noon. Absolutely.
Yep. Yes. If the tower gets hit, the tower gets hit. Okay? It doesn't matter. But again, it is a good method. 90% of the time or 98% of the time, it's probably going to be functional. Okay, emergency warning system, we talked about that a little bit. There's it's a hardened system throughout the United States. Every state police headquarters, the state EOCs all have these. They're interconnected through a hardened system. They do check them daily, in fact, several times a day. They do a check. The primary command and control is at NORAD Cheyenne Mountain Complex. And it just kind of funnels out. You can see what all those things there. Gives you all the different ones.
Can I ask why North Carolina doesn't have sirens if you guys have tornadoes?
Used to. They used to. They were taken out with budget cuts and other things, and primarily because of, with the advent of the cell phone and the warning systems on the cell phone, you're getting your siren right here. Because it comes across. All the alerts are coming on the phone now, on the smartphones. And so they did away with the sirens, because economically it's easier to run these systems than it was to run the sirens.
I wonder if your cell phone's dead.
It's already is probably.
It means learn to charge it more frequently. All right, served agency communication systems. State and local government systems, police, sheriff, highway patrol, et cetera, they have certain on-air procedures that are going to be different than what we use. Okay? Because you're not going to look at, you're not going to sit there and go, engine 41, 73s, have a good day.
Yeah, right.
Okay? All right. They use non-ITU phonetics. Instead of Alpha, Bravo, Delta, Charlie, Delta, It's Adam, Baker, Charles, Dawn. Okay? They use 10 codes. And believe it or not, those 10 codes aren't standardized.
Different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they are.
different. What we use here in the county, if we go to Haywood County, they're different.
Really?
Okay? My 1043 here is totally different than what theirs is. Okay? There's a few standards that pretty much stay the same. 1050, which is an auto accident. 1050 PI means personal injury. 1013 means officer down, needs assistance. That's pretty much standard. But everything else, I want to take a lunch break, totally different. We don't use 10 codes. We're not used to it. We don't play with it. How about the medical radio system? The old MedStar system used 10 simplex VHF frequencies. They now have the UHF system, which is still used. If you want to listen to it, look them up. I don't remember all of the frequencies off the top of my brain, but you can look them up and you'll hear the communications between the ambulances and the hospitals. You'll hear the paramedic going, "This is paramedic John Doe. I'm in a Rapture facility. Be there in 10 minutes with a 53-year-old male, and he's got this and that and that and whatever, you know, and we've done this and this and this, and what do you want us to do next?" They're going to see a triage.
Can you do that now that most of them don't have a U800 system?
Nope, they're still on UHF.
Yeah, I pick them up all the time. And just regular
They're on the UHF system. They're on the UHF medical radio system.
Are those channels constant throughout the country, or
No, they change.
They change.
is there a list here?
There is. You can look it up. It's out there. There's 10 frequencies, and
Actually, a lot of the scanners now come with a complete database of them.
yeah.
Mine does, and it picks up, it's got a GPS connection, and it's figured it out. For
Okay.
All right. The Red Cross, they actually have radio frequencies. 4742 is their standard, and for disaster operations, and 47.5 is their backup type of frequency. Community repeater systems, some groups have that, some counties just have a community shared repeater. Everybody uses it. Might have one frequency, and you got public works and school system, and, you know, whatever, all on the same frequency. Think that's going to get crazy in a disaster?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. We already talked about trunk systems. We're not going to go back through most of that. Again, they lack reserve capacity. They quickly become overloaded. They're just not scalable. Appgo, somebody mentioned that earlier. That group, they have a specific protocol. They're kind of the ones that push all this stuff for the public safety side, for especially law enforcement. But they are the ones that set those standards. We sometimes, if we work with them, may have to use those standards. The P25 radio system is fairly flexible. Unfortunately, not everybody uses the P25 system. Cache radios. North Carolina has cache radios. What that means is what it says. It's just a group of radios sitting over here ready to be used. FEMA has them, the state has them, county has them. We actually have cache radios. I think we have 20. They're all handhelds, they're all 800s. And all that can be handed to key people whenever we need. And we can be asked to manage and or use those systems.
Is that the Viper?
Could be Viper. We could be we could be sitting there and the county, the ComEl's requested 50 cache radios from the state. We get 50 Viper radios in. He turns around, walks up to the box and goes, "Chunk. Hand them out, manage them. Here's a list." We out managing the cash radio system. Are you doing your job? Yeah. Don't get scared with this, because every bit of this is doable.
And I want to ask a question.
Hang on, hold the question.
Okay.
Let me finish this thought. Everything's doable. Why? Who in here has common sense? And I'm not talking about a high level, I'm talking about just basic common sense, okay? You know enough to get out of the rain or step out of the, or not play in traffic, right? You got relatively good common sense, okay? You're educated. You've proven that you are capable of understanding complex things. Why? You got your amateur radio license. Everything's doable. Everything they're asking us to do is manageable. We have that ability. We may take a few minutes to read the book and try to figure it out, but we have that capability of doing that in a relatively short time. We won't spend 10 hours trying to figure out how to hand out 50 radios. Okay. All right, how about working with the public?
Got a question.
Question first. Go ahead, Mike.
When you go into like, anyone, like with the EMCom on Thursday night, Callsigns is WS4NC. When you walk into one of these centers, how do you know what your call sign is?
It
What
may,
do you use? Do you use
it may be
one
yours, it may be one that they have. Okay? And you'll be told that when you get there. But if not, if all else fails, what do you use? Yours. Now, if it's on their radio system, they're gonna tell you what it is. Okay? They're gonna hand you the radio and go, you're 1210. You go, okay. That's your call sign. They'll probably have a tag on the radio that says 1210.
So when they set that box of Cat A radios down there and hand you the list, then as you go down the list, that becomes your call sign.
You're gonna hand out the radio, you're gonna go, okay, Gaff, let's see, I'm giving you radio 1220. Linda, I'm giving you radio 1221. Ken, you're getting 1222. You write it down. And then you turn around and that list goes back and you go, okay, to the radio operator so he knows that these are the people that are now those call signs.
Because when you key it up, you see the number.
Right.
On the system.
Yeah, on them 800 system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They'll see who it is. They still got to give their call sign, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how do public safety is different from us. I want to talk to Don. I'm going to call him up. Right? WS4NC, this is W1HRC. Right? Public safety doesn't do that.
No.
If I'm the dispatch, if I'm the radio operator or the net control, I'm just going to go WS4NC. He's going to call me back. If he wants to talk to me, he's just going to go WS4NC. Go WS4NC, go ahead. They knock out a lot of that back and forth that we do. So it's a little different. Okay. The more we work and put ourselves in front of the public during playtime, public service events, like the Tour de Tanglewood, things like that, the better we are. Because it makes it a little bit easier for people to understand what we're doing. It confuses people, especially shelter managers. When you come walking in and you're dragging 100 feet of coax, you got your tripod, you got your antenna, your backpack full of junk, and the antenna hanging up to here, and you go, what in the hell? You know, that puts communications up, okay? But you're not putting all that in here. Well, no, I'm just putting this here. I'll drop my book bag, put the rest of this outside. If we work ahead of time with them, it lets them know. There might come a time we have to sit there and we're working here, but we need to borrow the guy's tree over here to put an antenna in. Talking with him, letting him know what we're doing, working with him. helps to reduce conflicts other than just walking up and going, yeah, we use that trace. There's the line. He comes out and he goes, okay. You don't want to do that. Talk to the public, work with them. FRS, GMRS radios, they're good from here to Mike. GMRS is a little better because they can at least hit the repeater on King and go further. But again, you got to have, if you're going to use GMRS, you got to get a license. Your amateur license does not permit you to operate on that band.
Always been GMRS.
GMRS. Your amateur license doesn't permit you to operate on any band other than the amateur radio license.
Right.
Okay? Family radio service, non-licensed. Those radios are half a watt. They're those little tiny ones you can buy, 6 to a pack. You know, I call them throwaways because they're only going to communicate from me to Mike. They're not going to go a whole lot further. Okay? GMRS is a little more powerful. They can be up to 5 watts. They can hit the repeater, which can be up to 50 watts. You can use a mobile. If you have a GMRS mobile, it can be 50 watts, or a base station can be 50 watts. So it is a little bit more, but it requires a license. GMR licenses right now are, I think, $65 for 5 years.
10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
That's right, they just changed it, didn't they? Thank you, Steve. I forgot they just changed that. 10 years. Mine's still 5 years. That's what it says on my license. And I've got to go back in because there's a methodology you got to do that they've got set up. You go back in and you can get it extended. Anyway, that's why it still says 5 years, because that's what it was. I forgot to change it. Nice thing is it covers your family. So everybody in your family can use that. The bad thing is technically there's nothing in that service regulation that permits the use of GMRS for emergency disaster operations. The only thing it does permit is the transmission of life-threatening information. You make a call because the person's going to die. But
Somebody's having a heart attack.
normal disaster stuff is not really permitted on that band. We have it. We have the ability to do pretty much everything. It's kind of neat when you think about the authority level that amateur radio has. We're very, very limited in our restrictions as to what we can do and can't do. All right, remember, in disaster, people are going to use anything in any way they can to communicate. We got to try to manage all that. We have good procedures. We can teach people. I've actually held a communications course for CERT, very similar to this, what we've talked about. Not only their radios, but how to communicate, what to communicate. So, working with them. So if you know people that have those radios, sit down if you can, get a chance to talk with them. Teach them how to use them properly, how to use them in a way that can be used in an emergency. All right, do we use tactical call signs?
Yes.
Sure. Okay. How about using pro words? What pro words do we not use together? Roger Wilco, over that. If you watch some of the older shows on TV, you'll hear them on the radios. At the end they go, Roger Wilco, over now. All right. Remember, speak. Don't yell. Speak clearly, slowly. Speak like you would, face to face. All because you pick up the radio doesn't mean you gotta let it bring your voice up. Hey, how you doing? No. What's that do? Distorts. Over deviation. Don's back here going, oh my God, no. Okay. It makes things crazy. But believe it or not, even some amateurs don't understand that. When we're in an emergency situation, what happens? What's the natural tendency?
Your adrenaline goes.
Your adrenaline pumps up. You get excited. When you get excited, your voice will naturally rise. I wish I had recorded this response the other night. It's been a couple of months ago. But it was a male law enforcement officer who was doing a chase. They were driving around. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. You know, you can tell this is what they were doing. All of a sudden, get out. I'm in foot pursuit. Voice went up about 10 octaves. Okay. And I'm like, what? It was pretty funny. But the adrenaline happens. When you get that pumped up, all of a sudden, because he changed from in the car, he's calm. He's like, okay, you know. And all of a sudden, now he's running. Boom. He just increased a whole bunch. We don't need to do that. The calmer we are, the better our communications will be. If you are excited on the air, that receiving station is probably not going to understand what you're saying. You need to slow down, calm down, act like nothing's happened. This is just a normal day. All hell's breaking loose out here, but it's a normal day. It's okay. I'm chilled, man. We're good. That's what you want to be. All right, the CERT teams, we talked about those. If you get an opportunity to take the course, take the course. Oops. I don't even know how to do that.
Go right there.
Okay. All right, basic communication skills. You already have those because you talk on the radio every day. How many times, however, does somebody ask you on the air, say that again? Not normally too often. But if you got the microphone up here, you're talking to the microphone, what happens? Startle. What if you're out here talking to the microphone and you're talking real low? What happens?
Can't hear you.
You can't hear. Normal tone. Where do you want your microphone?
6 to 8 inches.
When you're on a mobile or a portable handheld microphone, where do you want that microphone?
6 to 8 inches.
From your
Right
mouth.
here. Yep. Right here. You want to talk across it. You want to talk across it in a normal tone of voice, and you're good to go. How about a desk mic? Most desk mics are 6 to 8 inches and all, and you're talking directly into them. They operate a little differently. But your handhelds, what about your handheld? Handhelds are kind of cool. You can't really hold your handheld like this, because what happens when you do that?
Yeah.
Antenna's here. You change the polarization, right? Where do you want your handheld? Up here. Okay? But, I'm going to borrow your handheld. I can, if I may. Thank you, sir. You need to be familiar with your handheld. Know where the microphone is. I'm looking to see if I can tell where the microphone is on this one. It's up in the upper left side, or lower left side. The microphone's right here on this side of the handheld. You know, most of them have a thing that says mic, so you know exactly where it is. And believe it, it's just a tiny little space in there. So if I'm talking over here, and I'm holding it this way, am I talking into the microphone?
No.
Where do I need to hold it? Here. So I'm talking into that microphone. And you do talk directly into it with a handheld. Not off to the side, directly into it. Again, normal tone of voice. Remember, these things are going to pick up everything around you. So you need to have a good, clear, crisp voice. Thanks. I like that reading, by the way.
I'm starting to enjoy it.
What was it somebody said? I think that what you think you heard is not what I know I said.
Yes.
Happens a lot with husbands and wives. But anyway, in an emergency, a message can have a huge and often unintended consequence. Okay? We need to have somebody look at the dam. If that message does not get done properly, it's going to be, the dam has burst. And what happens then?
Oh, everybody's gonna run to the
Panic.
panic.
Okay? Unintended consequences. If it's unclear or modified, you ever played the game? And we've done this in some classes, we won't do it in this one, but I would whisper in his ear.
By the time you
Okay.
get down to the end, it's a different story.
Totally different.
Yep.
The sky is blue. By the time it gets to Wayne, the sky is pink.
And hawks are pink.
Okay? Yeah. That or it's that Wyatt wears pink panties. Okay? It gets weird. And we've done this, we've done that drill with as little as 6 people, and you would be amazed at the change in just that little bit. Okay? So it's very important that it's clear because we must be accurate in what we do. Communications, 50% plus is listening. Trying to stay non-distracted. And that's tough to do in a DOC. It's tough to do in a communications center when all hell's breaking loose. Okay? That's why we put 3 operators. Comm lead and 2 operators. Why? Those 2 people on the radio, all they got to worry about is that radio. That's it. Talk on the radio, write down what you need to write. That's it. That comm team leader's back here. They're doing the stuff on the computer, they're interfacing with COML, the EOC manager, everybody else. They're handling all the nonsense. There's 2 people on the radio, that's their life right there. Nothing else. They concentrate on that. That's the way we try to make it work. Doesn't always work that way, but that's the goal. As little noise as we can get, and trust me, an EOC can get noisy. They can get noisy enough that Wayne and I can't hold a conversation sitting next to each other. Usually at that point, the EOC manager said, hey, no, folks, indoor voices.
That's what I say to my grandkids all the time. We're at school all day, every
Indoor
day.
voices. Because you'd be amazed how many people, you hear this, you get a little louder over here, it gets a little louder over here, and it just builds up, it gets crazy. Microphone techniques, we've already talked about that. Do not use Vox. If you have Vox on any radio, I don't care if you use it day to day for fun, because it's easy, whatever, you turn that stuff off in emergency operations. That's just not needed. Vox has too many things that can occur. You get in a high noise environment, it starts transmitting, it keys up, causes problems. Brevity and clarity. Okay? Just what we need. I don't need a dissertation on the fact you need 50 cots. What I need to know is you need 50 cots here and when you need them. Better still, tell me what your mission is. I have to add 50 people to the shelter. Need equipment. Okay? Tells me all we need to know. I need to get you everything for 50 people. That's cots, blankets, pillows, mess kits, MREs, okay, whatever. I need to get you 50. Because you're telling me what you're trying to accomplish. Remember, if you're the author of the message, you can change wordings as you need to if you're developing that message yourself. However, if you are not the author, you send it as it's written. Spelling errors, punctuation errors, grammar errors, you send it as it's written. You don't change a thing. Okay? That way it makes them look like crazy, not us. All right, communicate one subject at a time. Sometimes you will be handed a message and it might have something that needs to go over to logistics and something that needs to go to planning. Separated, 2 separate messages. one subject. Plain language, do we use Q signals? No. You can in CW operations if needed. 10 codes we don't use anything like that or any type of similar jargon. It's plain language. Why do we use plain language? So everybody understands it. Everybody understands it. Okay. If I tell you the outhouse is a mess, I don't need to have a code for that, right?
No,
Everybody knows the outhouse is a mess.
don't go in.
If I say this building's on fire, you know the building's on fire. If you're in another county, okay? Because building fire in one county, they might say 1020. Or 1020 here means what's your location over there, it's a building fire. The building fire is building fire in voice, doesn't matter where you are. Okay? Try to avoid words or phrases that carry strong emotions. Buildings collapse, there's multiple dead.
Oh my goodness. No.
What's that do to anybody else who's listening?
Although it make them panic if,
That's just, man, people just go crazy over that. Okay?
oh my goodness.
Buildings collapsed. That's all we need to know. Buildings collapsed. We know there's probably going to be dead. We know there's going to be injured. We just need to know it collapsed.
You can always go back to assessing the situation.
Yep. There's one, if I can ever find it, I've got the recording on it. If I can ever find it, I'll play it at some point for everybody. But it's one of those that starts off very calmly and there's with the person responding to the incident. And when they get there, you can hear the excitement level and there's bodies everywhere. They're in pieces. I mean, it started describing what they're seeing. This was a plane crash. You know, I mean, there's bodies everywhere. My God, they're in pieces. Oh no, there's little kids. I mean, it just went crazy. As this person described exactly what they were saying. And you can tell anybody listening to the scanner, the dispatchers, I mean, it's just everybody starts getting it. The responders, everybody starts getting crazy at that point. So we try to work with that. Phonetics, ITU NATO phonetics is what we use. Remember, numbers are pronounced individually. Not 60, it's 60. Okay. Standard for unusual words. First say the word I spell, proper pronouns, or not pronouns, but pro words. This information is for John Smith. I spell Smith. S-Y. Or S, yeah.
There's so many
Yes.
different Smiths.
Yes. S-Y, S-M-Y-T-H. Okay? That'd be Sarah, Mike, Yankee, Tango, Hotel. So you spell it out. Now, if it's common spelling, I could say this message is for John Smith, common spelling. It tells you it's common spelling for Smith, which is what? S-M-I-T-H. Pro words and pro signs, ones that we use: over, go ahead, out, wait, Roger. And these are some of them. There's an entire list on the W4NC webpage. You pull it down. Those are all the ones we use.
On what page?
On W4NC.com, go to the Oxcom Areas Documents tab. There's 3 tabs for Oxcom Areas. There's a General Information tab. There is a Training tab, and there is a Documents tab. Now, we have 3 tabs. They're all red, so you can tell what's in them.
Is oxcom.w4nc.com working?
Yes,
Okay. So you can go directly.
so you can go there, by Oxcom at W4NC.com, or W4NC.com also works. It takes you straight to the pages. It takes you straight to the information page. And then from there, you can go to the others. If you go to the Documents tab, you will find all these documents on it. We have a full one that gives you all the stuff we use. I suggest reading it. Tactical call signs, everybody's familiar with that. We've used them. Tactical call signs will be usually assigned by the net control station, especially in a disaster. Okay? We'll send Bruce to a shelter at Reagan High School. Okay? Your tactical call sign's Reagan. That's it. You got to remember that. Write it down, put it on your head. Don't put it on your forehead, it's hard to see. Okay? But you got to write it down somewhere so you know what your tactical call sign is. Because that's how we're going to call you. And net control doesn't want to call you 3 or 4 times. It slows down communications. That's why we use the tactical call signs. Okay? Those are just some examples that are out there, which you can use for traffic and how it works. Some of the wording I don't necessarily agree with. We use a little different, but as long as you get the message across. But you notice right here, just for example, Firebase 5, contact 83 for prior traffic. About as minimum as you can get in your statement. It tells Firebase 5 everything they need to know. At that point in time, on the net, these two people own the frequency. They own it. Nobody else. Net control monitors it. They're still in charge, but they own it until they're done with their transmission. If you have an emergency, that's the only thing that's going to break that. Emergency, priority, immediate. All right. Again, we're all pretty familiar with tactical call signs. I don't want to spend too much time on that. But we want to go with as minimum words as we can. Remember net control, if you're ever in that position as a net control operator for that net, and we will possibly operate 2 and 3 and 4 different nets during a disaster. So as that net control operator, you've got to monitor whatever net or nets you're assigned to and maintain control of those. And if you see something going the direction it's not supposed to go, you stop. You see somebody's in the process of, they're given a transmission about shelters, and the next thing you know, you notice they start into protected information, personal protected information. They start giving out names, dates of birth, that type of stuff. And you can't stop them immediately because they're transmitting, but as soon as they break, you stop. You call them and you stop it. So you maintain as a net controller's control. You'll learn that in the EMC net control course. All right. Again, all these conversations that are occurring without an FCC call sign. When do we give that in a tactical operation?
In the transmission.
When?
In the transmission.
At the end of the transmission.
Or after 10 minutes.
Or after 10 minutes. But if you're talking 10 minutes,
Okay.
okay, there's some real bad karma going on, okay? There's some real bad stuff happening. Oops, I did that again. All right. Then your transmission, give your call sign. Makes it simpler. You don't have to worry about things. Most of your transmissions are going to be very short anyway. Forgive it. At the end, 83, W1HRC. Out. Why do you want to say out?
You're releasing the frequency.
Releasing the frequency. You are out. You're done talking. That's what that means. I'm done. Both stations have to say that. Okay. You ever heard the top one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Heard number 2 yesterday on HF.
Heard number 2. Oh, I've heard number 2 before. Okay. We actually we were actually in the middle of an emergency operation. And a guy came on the 2-meter frequency that was being used. We were out on the coast. And he goes, "It's time for my rag shoe now. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Go somewhere else." Okay, this repeater's being used for emergency operations. No, you don't understand. This is my repeater. I own it. And I'm taking it over. Okay? Everybody go to the backup repeater. We weren't going to argue with him. He said he was the owner of it. It was his. We went to the backup repeater. And we were lucky to have it. You know, come to find out later, the guy was not the actual owner.
Does he get a note from the FCC or something like that?
You can. Shut. How about cute phonetics? Who in here does cute phonetics with a call sign? Okay. Who has a K in their call sign? Who uses the term kilowatt?
I hate those people.
It's
I keep wondering like KW.
I went to kumquats. Quinces and nanos.
You know, I mean, it's kilo. You know, and then you got people that use sugar instead of Sierra. Okay. And yeah, so use the standard phonetics. How about identifying every time you key or on key the mic? You ever heard somebody do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's extremely crazy and annoying. 10 codes, Q signals on the phone. We actually had a hand do that. They had called the state EOC to pass some information, and I can't remember what Q signal they used, but they used 2 of them in passing information to the EOC. And they were like, "What? What is this?" It's plain language. Speaking without planning your message in advance. If I hand you, here you go, I want you to transmit this, and you just, okay, pick up a mic, you start transmitting it without even looking at it, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to be almost like this, you know, and you're going to misspell things, you're going to read it first,
Yes.
read it twice before you transmit it. That's the best thing to do. Think it out, read it out. How about talking just to pass time? Well, I'm bored. Hey, station 3, how y'all doing over there?
No.
We're doing fine. We're twiddling our thumbs. Okay. Well, I'm twiddling my toes. Try that. See if that works for you. Okay.
No.
No, we don't do those conversations. But they happen. Because, why do they happen? We get bored. We're amateur radio operators. What do we want to do? We bought the radios, got the license for what? To talk on the radio. And in emergency operations, we're telling you to do the exact opposite. Don't talk on the radio unless you need to. And that's been one of my complaints with Tour de Tanglewood, is that I'm a torturous taskmaster, because I put all my mobiles and all my people out in the field, and I don't let them use the radio.
Yeah.
Okay? And they're like, but we want to talk. If you have an issue, talk. If you don't talk.
Do you do a radio check every so often?
That just takes up frequency, time, blocks emergencies, that can block traffic. We've already established, once we do that initial roll call in the morning, okay, when you start out and you go, bed control, SAG 3, loud and clear, Roger. I don't need to talk to you again unless you got an issue.
Do you do some sort of an update? I know when you're out in the middle of nowhere, there seems to be no information coming your way. I don't know if that's...
Sometimes we do, but you can do that in a disaster. But like with Tour de Tango, when it's so fluid,
Oh, yeah.
where things are going, it makes it a little challenging. Plus they know, because there's enough traffic, believe it or not, there's actually enough traffic on the air, that if you're listening, you got a pretty fair idea of what's going on. All right. High volume of disorganized messages will overload your system. Yes, they will. That's why we have priorities on messages. What goes first, second, third, and fourth. Why we have nets. What happens if all of us in this room, all of you, try to talk to me at one time? What's going to happen?
Nothing good.
I'm not going to understand a damn thing. Right? No communications has happened. So we got to have a net control so I can go, okay, Wayne, you talk. Okay, Jim, you talk. Okay, Bruce, you talk. Okay, split, whatever. Everybody gets a choice. And we can run multiple nets, whatever we need. Net control directs it. They are in charge. Doesn't matter whether you like that person or not. If they're assigned net control, they are in charge. They make the decisions and determinations of the flow of traffic and who goes first, who goes second, who goes third. One thing that I want you to understand in net operations, you need to listen to your radio at all times. No matter how boring it is, listen to that radio. Last year, and this was Tour de Tango, but this was an issue that we're working on correcting. Believe it or not, my two net controllers who happened to be in this room today that did an excellent job of handling this situation, at one point had 10 people on standby. I'm like, what the heck? This is a public service event. This is not a disaster. Why do we got 10 people on standby? It wasn't because of those two at net control. It was because when Station 1 called them and asked them a question, they told them to wait. They said, stand by, I'll get you the answer. As soon as they said that, the next station called up and said, hey, I got this, stand by. Because they're working this first issue. And it just kept piling on.
And you can hear all that.
You can hear all that.
And there were some of us who were sitting there going, get in the queue or just sit? Yes. And sit.
Unless you got an emergency or priority traffic, you just sit. Because the reality is, okay, when they told that station, that first station, wait,
Everybody else should have been waiting.
they're still communicating. That frequency's still not released. It's still operational. They still own it. They're still in communications. And until they finish and go out, frequency's blocked for everything but emergencies. So I don't expect to hear that this year. But my net controllers handled it real well. They did an awesome job of dealing with that. Because that makes it very complex. That adds, believe it or not, you got two people sitting in a net control. And you start doing that type of stuff from the field, they start getting that. What happens to their stress level? It goes up. And it's already a fairly intense position to begin with. And it goes up, and it just drives them crazy. But we need to help maintain their level down. Plus it adds another thing besides the stress. What's another thing that it adds that's even almost, it's actually more critical than the stress? Who said confusion? Very good, Bruce. That's it. Confusion. That's more critical. Because when they get confused, because of these multiple requests, it makes it difficult to get accuracy done. Makes it difficult to respond in a proper way. So we got to always listen. They're going to keep a list of stations. They're going to know who's where, etc., and whatever liaison needs to occur. Again, we can have up multiple liaison stations. Who knows what a liaison station is?
Man in the middle. Man in the middle.
Man in the middle. I may turn around and assign Judson and they say, hey, Judson, I need you to be our liaison with the National Traffic System. So everything we've got that will end up being passed to the National Traffic System will go to him. And then he passes it on. That's a liaison. He's a liaison with a different net, a different system. All right. Precedence messages, we'll talk about those. We're leading into that. Learning proper net control techniques, handling duties and emergency communications. The net control class will help you with that, although it's got a lot of paperwork in it. But it does help you with how to handle that a little better. The key thing is, remember, you're in charge. You set the pace. You also set the standard. If you as a net controller are very lax in your procedures, everybody else in the net's going to follow suit. But if you are very tight on that procedure and what you do every time, they're going to do it. You use proper pro words, they're going to use proper pro words. You use proper call procedures, they're going to use proper call procedures. You use proper phonetics, they're going to use proper phonetics. They're going to follow that control station. Open nets and formal nets, do we have those? Sure.
Yes.
And that control station can still be there.
A vagabond, isn't that like an open?
No, it's a directed net. It stays directed the whole time. But we will take, for example, we do a weather net. We ramp up because we've got a watch or a warning, and we start ramping up. We run the weather net. We get everybody checked in. Not a whole lot going on. Net control station go. The net is free at this point. What that means is you can contact whoever on your own, but the net control is still there. They're monitoring, and if necessary, they'll take the frequency back under direction. But it gives you the ability to chat without having to go through net control. So that's a free net, and that does happen. We use that a lot of times on bars. We'll finish check-ins, we'll finish traffic, but we still got 30 minutes worth of time that the net's scheduled to operate. So we'll make the net free at that point. That way the net controller can kind of sit back, monitor, and anybody else can just communicate as they need to. A directed net is a formal net. Everything goes through net control. They're the central point. They can prioritize traffic. You might think your traffic's priority, but you need to get it through. They're going to make that determination. Because remember, not everything's first come, first served. Van checks in, says, I've got routine traffic for this station. Another station checks in, I got routine traffic for a different station. I got routine traffic your station. I got priority traffic. I got priority immediate traffic. Who goes first? Priority immediate. Even though Van checked in first with priority with routine traffic, he's still not topped off. Then we work it down. Net control takes care of that. Casual conversation strongly discouraged. Why?
It's a fair time.
Takes up airtime. And your little idle chit chat, hey, how are you doing? How's the wife and kiddies and the dog? Can block emergency or priority immediate traffic. The key thing is we don't want to block emergency traffic. The less time we are on the air in a disaster, the better. The reality is silence is golden. The quieter we are, the better we are. That also means not a whole lot's cooking. Things aren't as bad as we really think they are. All right, check-ins cannot break or interrupt into the net transmit unless instructed by an control, unless you have emergency. Tactical call signs get used on directed nets, just like everything else. And all, we can also create subnets. There may come a time during a net we're operating on the 470, for example, and things are getting intense. We're getting a lot more traffic. Jim's on. I go, Jim, take this group over to 315 and establish a subnet. He just rolls over to our backup repeater. I send that group to him. He manages all that and liaisons back to me, and we're back to the primary net control. So that can be done. Mission nets, traffic net, resource, tactical net, information, health and welfare net. We can set up any of these. They can be combined or we can do them all individually, depending on what the emergency is and the capabilities are. Okay. What's a traffic net?
It's like the Central North Carolina traffic.
Right. We're just passing formal messages, written messages. That's all that's for. It's passing traffic. That's all that does. How about a resource net?
Logistics.
That's a net we're running that Bruce can call, net control, I'm en route. Okay, thank you. Hey, Mike, you can go home now. Thanks, I'm going home. That's the resource net. Tactical net, what's that?
Could be a weather net.
Could be a weather net, could be our actual, that's the actual operations. That's what are we doing, that's operations. Think of it that way. How about information net?
Just passing information to everybody.
General broadcast information net that can be put out. Kind of like what we do, some of the handfests do. They have an information net that they periodically broadcast. You know, this is the handfest for talk in, go to this frequency, that type of thing. And they do that on their wide range repeater to direct everybody to the local repeaters or local simplex. Health and welfare net, just what it says. We're transmitting those messages. Well, that's good. All right, so we already talked about traffic nets. We walked through that already. Okay? Remember, handle traffic primarily on VHF and HF repeaters if we can. The reason is it's clearer, right? It's clearer than HF. Okay? If you've never tried to pass traffic by voice on HF, talk to me. We'll set it up one night. We'll play with it. Okay? You're going to find out real quick how difficult that is. It is not as easy as a lot of people think. And the Mars folks are fixing to find that out here coming up next month. Because most of our digital stuff will probably not be used in this particular exercise, and most of our messages will probably be sent by voice. That's going to be a good one. Trust me. It is not going to be good. You know, Mike, you did not hear me say that.
No, I ain't.
I remember he's in the room. Can't give out the secrets. Anyway, the Oxycom we interface with National Traffic System. They have their own methodology for passing traffic. It could actually be a day course on. In fact, there is a day course on National Traffic System. If you want to be really involved with that. All right, resource net again. Just who's coming in, who's going out. We run these even with public safety. That's kind of our staging area. That's our resource net. Who's coming into the staging area, who's going out. We keep track of all that. That's our mission net, our tactical net. Whatever we're doing. Actually, the operation. If I go too fast in the slide, let me know. Information that again, just announcements, official bulletins, general information, whatever. Health and welfare is what it says. All right. Keep on rocking because we're going to get close to it. We can probably get through this section and we go to lunch. All right, emergency net. I will tell you, if we have an emergency net, for the most part, they're going to be directed. Very, very rarely will it become an open net. And the reason is that if we're doing an emergency net, we've actually got an emergency happening. We're in the thick of things. So we need to make sure that everything maintains a control. It is up to the net controller, however. When you check in, you have to check in first, then do your message. How do you check in with a message? Net control, W1HRC. I need to talk to this station. Does that work? How about net control? This is W1HRC, priority traffic, KC4WSK. Over. Does that work?
Yeah.
That's how you check in. We do have established procedures. They're in the SOP, which is also on the website. It is being updated, but right now it is relatively current. I'm updating it because of the July changes. And it will come out in July. Or August, actually. Maybe July. If I can get it done in time. It's challenging when you're doing 99% of the work. And you're also taking 99,000 courses. Just for everybody's edification, July 29th through August 9th. I think it's 9th. Anyway, those 3 weeks, this old boy's out of pocket. I'm going to be in Charlotte for a week. At Fire Academy down there. I'll come home on Saturday, clean my clothes, repack my bag, and leave on Sunday to the other side of Raleigh for a week for training. I'll come back, have a weekend to de-energize or re-energize, because then I go into another week of class locally. So I'll be really hard pressed for you to get me intermittently on the phone. I will not be spending a lot of time in the air in those locations. All right, passing traffic. You list your traffic. That controller says who goes first, who goes second, etc. Okay? If I'm that controller, van has traffic for Jim. Okay? Whatever his tactical call sign is. Okay? Van 1, pass your traffic to Jim 2. It's almost right. It's all until it passes traffic. I don't need to say anything else. Okay? Or we may use the word go direct to. You know, it just depends on the person, what they're used to. A lot of times I just go call your station, pass your traffic. Get it done. Here's your priorities. Message priorities. Emergency, operational, immediate, priority, health and welfare, and routine. That's the order in which they're going to be handled. Why is health and welfare higher than routine? What do you think? And I guarantee you, you will not believe this when I tell you why.
Look at the comments and ask, you know,
Yeah, it could be anything health and welfare. Yeah. From passing a shelter list to passing a message for a person.
The dam broke around about
Dam broke's gonna be probably an emergency operation, okay? Health and welfare. John Doe is in this shelter, and he wants Jane Doe to know he's okay. Could we pass that message? Sure. We can pass that message. It'll probably go through the national traffic system, but we'll collect it, get it up, liaison it through, get it where it needs to go. Right? But why is health and welfare above routine traffic?
Because it keeps people comfortable.
Public relations keeps people calm. It shows that we care. They're above the 50 cots. They're more important than that 50 cots.
An example of that is I was in the U.S. Virgin Islands in 1995, September 15th. There was a major hurricane, Maryland. My mother was getting on a plane to fly to England for her one huge trip of her life. And through a friend of mine, we got to pass traffic to a person in Pennsylvania who called her at 6 o'clock in the morning. When she had gotten to the airport, she would have been seeing boats up on the shoreline and total destruction. She wouldn't have went. So it was very important.
That's it. So, that's why we put health and welfare above the 50 cots. Public relations, it's letting people know they're important. How about breaking the net? Break your call. If it's emergency, say emergency. Again, that control's going to stop it. They're going to identify you and say, go ahead. That's why net control also has to do what?
Listen.
Listen.
Can you define the first three a little bit better? That you have on the slide?
Yeah.
Just say operational media.
I think we get to that, but
Okay.
let me bounce up here. All right, emergency. Somebody's going to die. Okay? That's what that is. Operational immediate. If we don't deal with this now, somebody's going to die. Priority. We need to really handle this as soon as we can. It's important. Health and welfare, we just talked about. We let people know, family members okay. Routine, we need the 50 cots.
So generally speaking, wouldn't they mark it ahead to us? Wouldn't the author identify priority when he hands it?
Hopefully they will. A
If
lot
they
of
don't,
times,
yes.
yeah, a lot of times they won't. We have to ask.
But we're not making the decision, we're either asking for it. Or we're-
Sometimes they will have. Sometimes they'll just say, "Well, I'm not really sure." You know, and you can tell by reading the message what level it needs to go to. If it's 50 cots, it's routine.
In an emergency, whenever you put some sort of rating on your message, be ready for them, the EOC to come back and say that is not this, it is that. At this time, they'll change it for you and they'll bring you back and somebody else knows.
Yeah. Trust me, if you say emergency, it better be somebody's gonna die right now, or somebody is dying right now. Because when the term emergency is used, trust me, the EOC, that's probably one of the few times the EOC will go dead quiet. Is when they hear that term emergency, because everybody's turning now, because they know that's a life safety issue. And that is priority number one. Our priorities in the EOC, our priorities in operations, life safety, preservation of property, restoration of services.
The great is a non-fatal injury fit in there. That's pretty bad shape, but he's not gonna die.
It goes to operational immediate. Okay. If you need an ambulance, I'd probably go as an emergency anyway. An ambulance needed is an ambulance needed. Okay. Consider anything you would call 911 for is that. If it was a 911 call, that's what it's gonna roll into. Okay? And remember, and here's the key thing, what are these? Not this, but what are these? Each of these are what? Formal, written messages. If I need an ambulance, that's a tactical message. It's an informal tactical message. It's probably going to come under an emergency classification. Okay? If I need more water jugs at the point of distribution, do I need a formal message for that? Maybe not. That may need just be, hey, we're running short of water here. That's all you got to say. That's informal traffic, and that comes below routine. It's just not critical. All right, did that answer your question? Okay, but the first gentleman, I can't remember your name.
Steve?
No, whoever asked the question to go through the
Oh,
cards.
that's me. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Checking out of the net. Believe it or not, in ICS, there's a thing called accountability. And while part of that is holding you accountable for what your job is and what you do, the biggest part of that is accounting for your body. We need to know you're there, and we need to know when you leave. We have to account for you. Wednesday, when I went to the state EOC, we contacted them before I left. I'm en route. When I got there, walked in, signed in. When I left, walked over, signed out. When I got home, called them, came on home. Accountability. They're accounting for my body. Make sure I was okay. So we need to know when you're on the air and when you're off the air. Okay? If you've got a mobile radio and you're sitting, that's all you got no handheld, you need to go take a whiz quiz. Okay? You can't take that mobile in the restroom with you, right? But you need to tell somebody, I'm going to be off the air for 10 minutes. I don't need to know, I need to go to the bathroom. Okay? Going to be off the air in 10 minutes. Roger, we're going to put the time down. You're going to do what you got to do. We're going to look for you in 10 minutes. After 20 minutes, if we don't hear you, we're going to start trying to call you on the radio. And if we still don't hear you, we can't find you, we're probably going to divert somebody to your last known location to try to track your butt down. Somebody, Don, had a question? Okay.
I had a situation one time. I didn't call out. Had handheld. The restroom, wash my hands, hit the dryer button. I can't hear a damn thing.
That's right.
And I was being called
Yep.
at that particular time.
And that's when it's going to happen. At the most inconvenient times, when we're going to call you. All right. Here's another thing. If somebody asks you to move, that's an authority, asks you to move your station, just move it. Don't argue with them. Just pick it up and move it. Yeah, it might take you 30 minutes to take it down, 30 minutes to put it back up again. Just move it. They may have determined that they need that space for something else. We're there to serve them. If they ask you to turn your radio off or refrain from transmitting, go quiet. That doesn't mean, hey, that control, I've been told this, I'm going to be off the air for a little bit. No. Right now, just stop. Pick up your cell phone and call that control. If cell phones are working. And tell them this is what happened. If any of those two ever happen, just document it and let me know later. Because we're going to include those types of things in after action reports. Because they do happen. Sometimes they happen because people do not understand what we're doing. And it's just simply that miscommunications, that misunderstanding. they may think that we're sitting here broadcasting to the news media what's going on in the shelter. They've never worked with us before. They're new, whatever. All right, levels of nets. They're layered. We can do all kinds of different things. Okay. Non-voice nets. We can run those. Packet, digital, Amtor, Pactor. Anybody ever used the Amtor Pactor before?
It's not PST-31.
If you have an experiment with digital network, digital stuff, you need to. If you want, we can always set up on HF and do some digital stuff on 10 meters. We can play and try that and see. The reason I say 10 meters is right now, technicians can get there, right? Can't get pretty much anywhere else until they get to do. I don't know what the status is, but I know they're working on with the FCC to open up part of 40. Is it 40 and 80 or 40?
20 and 20, I think.
40 and 20. I can't remember. I know they're going to be off of 60. I know that won't be opened up. But I think it's 40 and 20. It's a pretty good swath of the general area would be given to technicians as well. And I mean, when I say swath, it may be, a few hundred products or space that they can get into. And when they do that, then that allows us to go there and play. All of our emergency operations that we do locally will be done on a band that all people can use, the technicians can use. We will never go into an extra area or even general areas. We will stay where technicians can be used. And the reason is, when that happens, we need everybody. We don't have time to be isolated folks. WinLink 2000 is a good system. It works really, really, really well. And it is the primary radio email system that we use. All right, where are we? Perfect, right where we want to be. Be back at 12:30. We have around the corner up here, there's all kinds of places to eat. I plan on going to Elizabeth's. So if anybody wants to ride with me, they can. I'm going to use the restroom first. I can carry a couple of folks. And Elizabeth's is there. We got Jimmy the Greeks, Putters. I'm trying to think of what else is up that way.
There's a Mexican restaurant.
There's a Mexican, yeah. That's right. There's a Mexican restaurant up there too.
Harlan, me and Ken will go to Elizabeth.
So Elizabeth's a little Italian place. They have good subs, good pizzas, and they're relatively inexpensive. Fly back in an hour.
You want to drive?
We'll stay here.
There you go, bud. They're missing your breakfast.
And we played Easter Candy
Oh, okay.
in California.
I just feed them
the
that.
shelters.
Now you've been doing.
Because the Salvation Army, of course, Cal Med, Cal Fire, could all talk to each
Yeah,
other.
we do a lot of
It
traveling.
was very useful.
Well, more than normal. I got this next week off.
Handheld
I
HDs.
just took a few days off.
We
I got more vacation than I
frequency.
can use.
Oh,
Little carry bar.
Because I had some.
No,
yeah.
I get 5 weeks a year.
college campus.
We're working on a transit anywhere 2 months.
That guy, her